Okay, guys, welcome back to another live stream. Of course, as you can see from the title, today we are talking about Pharrell Williams Louis Vuitton Fall Winter 2025 collection. I think there are some interesting concepts to talk about, and there are some interesting points that need to be made about this collection that I definitely haven't seen online. So, this should be fun. This should be an interesting live. And without further ado, let's get straight into the analysis of the collection. So, first things first, as most of you know, Pharrell Williams is the current creative director of Louis Vuitton. This is a role that he's had since 2023. I'm sure most of you remember the saga around Pharrell being hired. Around the time everyone was speculating who would take over Louis Vuitton, especially when it comes to, who would be the right replacement, who could achieve what Virgil Abloh did. We saw names like Grace Wells Bonner, Martine Rose, all designers that I'm really a big fan of. And then in between, we then got to see Kid Super do an interim design collection. So we started to think that Kid Super was going to be the creative director until it was announced that Pharrell Williams ended up being hired. And why that's very interesting, it's funny enough, when LVMH was in talks with Pharrell Williams initially, Pharrell Williams actually put Nigo forward and told them that Nigo would be the best man for the job, which is so interesting because now it's full circle where they have collaborated for many years. I mean, Pharrell Williams and Nigo have collaborated since the 2000s. I mean, they've done collaborations, whether it's or made brands together even, whether we're talking about Billionaire's Boys Club, Icecream, which is a diffusion line. They've worked on things like Human Made. So really, they've had a very nice bromance over the years, and they've loved working with each other, and they've always had collaborative efforts. They even collaborated with Louis Vuitton a few times when they made the Millionaire sunglasses. And so I remember when Pharrell Williams was hired, people were like, he hasn't even done anything. What's the connection to Louis Vuitton? But it's like, he's done collaborations with Louis Vuitton before, in collaboration with Nigo. So very, very interesting backstory. And it's funny because when you look at a lot of Pharrell Williams runaway shows at Louis Vuitton, the first ones that come to mind for me are like his debut collection, for example, things like that. You start to see that, and a lot of us used to say this, right, that it seemed like Nigo had a hand put in some of these collections. It almost looked like Nigo had big influence and you could see it there. It was almost like Nigo was on the creative team. And so it is kind of interesting and also weird that now they are just openly saying, yeah, we collaborated on this collection when, in my opinion, a lot of the collections look like Pharrell might have filtered the ideas through Nigo. Now, Nigo might not have designed these collections, to be honest, but it does seem like almost Pharrell was on the phone to Nigo asking him, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And that's how you get to this point. I think Pharrell Williams Louis Vuitton has been very interesting to me. I think that Pharrell Williams designs really amazing accessories. I think of the speedies that he's created, these really soft but colorful speedies over the years that I find really interesting. It's cool. It's really, really cool. And I've seen more men wearing, especially because men will normally wear the big speedies because it looks like luggage, but they don't wear the small ones because it's seen as a bit feminine, especially by straight men who have issues with their sexuality. They conflate wearing a small bag with them being gay or some stuff like that. So what I've noticed through Pharrell Williams doing these bags, these speedy bags, he's made them trendy for men to wear. And that's what Louis Vuitton wants. He's there for a job. He's there to sell bags. He's there to sell accessories. And I think he's doing his job well. I've seen more men wearing these than I've ever seen men wear speedies in my entire life. And they're interesting, they're fun. These sort of structureless, shapeless, soft leather, really nicely constructed bags. And I have a lot of experience with these bags. And as much as I say that, quality for a lot of these luxury brands are really horrible, I can say with confidence that these bags specifically, at least the ones that I have experience with, are very well made, extremely well made. And that's commendable. I think a lot of Pharrell Williams Louis Vuitton is really well made. I've seen a lot of the runway pieces in stores. It's really well made. And I think that's a good thing in a fashion market where everyone is cutting corners, everyone is just trying to have profit margins over everything. And I wonder if that's a very deliberate thing coming from Pharrell Williams, that he wants things to be made a certain way. He wants things to, be created to a certain level and a certain quality. Because he has experience in fashion. He might not be, the most revolutionary, innovative designer. However, he's made multiple brands, so he knows about production. He knows what quality should be like. He's probably had experience with factories that make really high quality things. So he does have expertise in that sense, because I can already hear the people like, what does Pharrell know about quality? I'm sure he knows more than most people that have never entered a factory in their entire life before. So I think he actually would know a lot. But moving on, looking at some other Pharrell collections, something I found a bit strange about Pharrell's collections is he kind of just picks one theme and goes with it. Of course, his debut collection, we saw a lot of the military camouflage prints. We have a specific focus on certain other prints. He had this collection which had nautical vibes and nautical inspirations. This is pre-fall 2024. Then we had, of course, the fall winter 2024 collection, which was more Western inspired, and we saw the cowboy boots, which was very interesting because it's very different to what we're used to seeing from Louis Vuitton outside of maybe Virgil Abloh, because Virgil Abloh did his own sort of Western inspired collection, and a lot of people were comparing and contrasting the show with Virgil Abloh's version, especially with the cowboy boots and stuff like that. This is one of the collections that I actually enjoyed the most. And when talking about Prada, it kind of seems like menswear is very much going in this Western aesthetic direction. I don't know what the reason for this is, but it seems to be a thing um, that's happening. And you can start to identify very specific house codes when you look at Pharrell's work at Louis Vuitton. I think a massive focus is the damier print. And the damier print is very interesting for him to focus on, because if you think of the time of Virgil Abloh actually didn't really focus much on the damier print. The only time, or at least the first time, he was like, okay, let me really focus on the damier print was when he had his collaboration with Nigo, where he did that collection with Nigo's, this collection, right, with these looks. So it wasn't until this collection, in collaboration with Nigo, that we saw Virgil Abloh start to really use the damier print a lot. So it's interesting that Pharrell Williams loves it and is using it a lot more than we definitely saw from Virgil Abloh, because it allows a different visual aesthetic from what we're used to seeing as far as Louis Vuitton menswear goes. So yeah, damier print, a lot of the shows, they kind of have the same themes also. We see with the Pharrell Williams shows, you see people pushing trunks every season, which is him trying to bring through this idea that don't forget that Louis Vuitton's history is as a luggage maker. They make travel goods. That's what we're going back to, the history and the essence of what this brand is supposed to represent, right? So it makes a lot of sense why he does that. He said, what? Because Westerners is coming back from the show Yellowstone. Let's see. Western wear is robust and has ease of movement. These things, plus nostalgia for the frontier and the elements, is appealing, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't really mind the whole Western vibe of things. It's just interesting to see how many brands are doing it all at the same time. Within the past 2 years, I've seen so many brands really, really do this. Let's see. Pharrell is a weapon of attraction and mass influence, and he's succeeding. It was like how I think Helmut Lang got Travis Scott on one time, but that didn't go too well. Yeah, and I think Pharrell, apart from him just being a super, super famous person, he can tap into loads of people that most people couldn't tap into, because these people are genuinely his friends. Like when you see LeBron James on a campaign, or Rihanna, these are legit his friends. He had Rihanna in a campaign when she was pregnant. I don't know if it wasn't Pharrell, Rihanna would do that for many other people, to be honest. I don't think she would have. Um, so yeah, and then of course, one of the more recent collections was a Spring Summer 25 show. This was obviously the celebration of many different nations. We also saw football and sports inspirations and a celebration of things that happen culturally around the world. This is a collection that I reviewed also. And so he picks themes and really focuses on the themes from collection to collection. But he does, you can see signatures with the streetwear. He always has like varsity jackets, bomber jackets. His tailoring looks a certain way. The slimline lapels. He has some very instinctive things that we see every single season. We know we're going to get the P9 Speedies. We know they're going to be in crazy colors. We know he likes the soft leather. So at this point, even with the new collection, I already knew what to expect because it's like I know what Pharrell Williams Louis Vuitton is. I know what it represents. I know who the customer is. It makes sense. What did someone say? This collection got so much hate. How can I see someone say Pharrell needs to stop creating for himself? Yeah, that is something what people have said, right? That Pharrell creates for himself because he creates garments that look like the kind of thing that he would wear, the kind of things that he would put in his wardrobe, right? I've heard that as a critique of Pharrell, which is true. I definitely think it's true. I think with Pharrell, and I guess it's good to have this conversation actually. I think with Pharrell, you have to judge designers based on what exactly are their goals or what exactly are they trying to achieve. I think with Pharrell, the reason they hired him is one, he's famous. Two, they're trying to tap into his audience. But then three, they think that he can create garments that appeal to the masses, which is what Louis Vuitton wants because they're trying to sell as much as possible. They're trying to make billions and billions every year. So considering that's his job, that's why you're going to with Pharrell. We're going to get these ultra commercial, collections. I am not expecting Pharrell to give us, pattern manipulation and show us how he does the bias cut and all these things. That's not what I'm expecting from Pharrell. Pharrell is not that kind of designer, or that level of designer. And once forget about that and see it for what it is, you can start to appreciate certain pieces. But I think if we're having a conversation, is Pharrell like a revolutionary designer? Then the answer very quickly is no. Pharrell is not necessarily bringing anything remotely new to the table. I think Pharrell takes things that he is interested in and inspired by and makes very good versions of those. But I wouldn't really see Pharrell as, this guy is like 10 years from now, people are going to be studying Pharrell's designs. No. No one is going to be studying Pharrell's designs 20 years from now. The conversation we will have is what Pharrell's time at Louis Vuitton meant culturally, and what did that do for the culture, and how did that change the face of fashion? Those are the conversations we are definitely going to be having. I think they went for Pharrell because they saw how Virgil worked, and they wanted someone who had the cultural cachet that could continue the success. Yes, of course. And that's why, even when you think of a lot of the other designers that were linked with Louis Vuitton at the time, most of them weren't famous like Pharrell. Virgil Abloh is actually one of the few, and we've had this conversation on this channel before. Virgil Abloh was one of the few celebrity designers at that time. There were very few designers that are more famous than fashion. There are certain designers, like if I ask my mum, do you know who this person is, and she knows, then I know this person, like their fame transcends fashion. My mum knew who Virgil Abloh was. My mum doesn't know who like Phoebe Philo is. My mum doesn't know who, I'm trying to think of like another famous designer but isn't famous outside of fashion. I'm trying to think without singling out too many people. But yeah, like Phoebe Philo, my mum doesn't know who that is. A lot of these people are famous in fashion, but outside, they're not really celebrity designers. So they needed someone of the same name to keep the same buzz around the brand. Someone is saying this is not fall winter 25. We're not on fall winter 25 yet. You must have just jumped in. We're looking at old shows first to bring it into the context of the new show. No one is saying that this is the current collection. Don't worry, you just came in late. Um, so yeah, I think when it comes to Pharrell Williams, you start to see certain codes and you start to see certain things that he's been doing over. and over again. And that, of course, guys, brings us into the current show, which, of course, is the Fall Winter 2025 menswear collection, um, which was made in collaboration, like I said, with Nigo. So let's have a look at this and let me walk through it. Balenci Betty says, I'm sure my mom doesn't even know Karl Lagerfeld. Yeah. So yeah, going into this collection, like I said, Pharrell Williams worked with Nigo in this collection. When you look at this collection, it's kind of inspired by, of course, the relationship that Nigo, the collaborative relationship that Nigo and Pharrell Williams have had over the years. And you can see through this collection, there's an interplay between the past and the present, how they dress and how they used to dress, their interest before and their interest now. That's why there's a mixture of the kind of Y2K streetwear that is very reminiscent of Nigo's era of Bape in this collection, but then you also see this more sharp tailoring that interests the likes of Pharrell Williams and Nigo is, more into right now. So you can start to see that. That's the first thing that when I looked at this collection, I noticed a lot of callbacks to streetwear things that we would associate with Nigo's Bape period, but then also tailoring and the kind of stuff that we associate with Nigo at Kenzo and Pharrell Williams designing at Louis Vuitton nowadays, the more like, sartorial looking aesthetic. So that's the first thing that I thought was really interesting. Of course, because they are playing with the interplay of their relationship, we start to see a lot of odes in this collection, right? So when you look at this collection, you see a lot of pink. Why is there a lot of pink? That's a sort of a reference to the cherry blossom, the sakura, which is, of course, one of the national flowers of Japan. That's paying homage to Japan. That's paying homage to Nigo's background, right? That's why it was a big fixture in this collection. It's also very interesting because that's also a big fixture in the Murakami collab. Like the cherry blossom Murakami bags are all the rage. And if you think of this year, what have people been talking about when it comes to Louis Vuitton? Everyone's been talking about the Murakami collab. So it's very interesting that you can draw parallels to those two things. That's very, very interesting. We also see other aspects that is an ode to their collaborative effort. You see a lot of Japanese techniques, especially with the denim. Like they utilized, what's it called? Kasuri weaving, where it's kind of like a Japanese technique where fabric has been woven with fibers dyed specifically so they can create a pattern. So instead of doing like a print, you actually weave in the pattern using the dyes from the threads into the garment itself, which is really interesting and really cool. So you can see up close, when you look at the garments up close, and I had one of my friends who was actually at the show that sent me a few up close pictures. Some of the techniques used are actually really, really interesting, right? Here we're seeing on the screen the typical Pharrell Williams Louis Vuitton show things, like someone pushing luggage. We see this all the time. Dr. Jean says, felt like them saying the nearly identical souls being a reference to their friendship was a reach and sensational. I think because this collection really is about their friendship, to be honest, like here we see some more pink once again, a reference to Sakura. We've even seen a Speedy in the same color. I think most people are going to do that, right? Everything we're going to say, oh my God, that vest is like an ode to their relationship. I think overall it is, of course. Like here, this is more of like, we're getting the Bape, like baggy denim, colorful bombers. This is literally Bape. So it's there, but I do think that, yes, some things were reaches for sure. Some things were definitely reaches. Wait, was just at Dover Street Market, Ginza the other day, and the Murakami LV exhibit was taking up the whole first floor. Damn, that's crazy. That's actually crazy. But yeah, there were many more odes to their relationship. Of course, like as you can see on the back of that jacket, there's a print that has an outline of Pharrell's face and Nigo's face. And there's the print that they're calling the Friends print, but it's spelled Phriends print, right? The Friends print. It's like if you didn't understand what the whole point of this collection was, you shall now understand it. Also, you see some Japanese lettering there. So what they've done is they've written Louis Vuitton. They've also written lovers in English and Japanese on certain pieces. So when you see Japanese characters, it either means Louis Vuitton or it means lovers. So that's obviously an ode to Nigo once again. I've already explained why there's so much pink in this collection. Um, this fisheye lens thing is so weird. Do you know what this reminds me of? Like all the different crazy angles. This reminds me of the Adi Slimane Celine collections where there's just 5 million angles and you're like trying to focus on the clothing. And before you can even take in the clothes, the angle changes completely. Have you seen the Pantone color of the year for 2025? Matcha mousse, brownish skin tone. Do you think they're relevant in terms of the fashion industry? Well, yes, because a lot of people, like a lot of brands, still follow the likes of WGSN and look at trend forecasting and develop their colors and their collections based on the trend. So, yes, I do think that's the thing. This, let me just bring that back because that was one of my favorite pieces. That sort of like kimono style. It kind of looks like a leather. It's kind of like that's a fusion and a merging of like a biker jacket and a kimono, which is really cool. And it looks like it's been aged. It has like a nice like aged look. There's the patina where you would move, so like at the bottom, at the elbow, on the shoulder. That's really cool. That was one of the pieces that I found interesting in this collection because I feel like a lot of the other pieces, we've seen this from Pharrell every season. We've seen the bomber jackets. We've seen, the tailoring that Pharrell likes to do. Of course, like I said, this silhouette, like here, we're seeing these Y2K baggy Bape style shorts that we're used to seeing from the past. I got to say the accessories here are nice. Yeah, I think when it comes to Pharrell Williams, and I say this all the time, every single time, he makes very good accessories. Whether that's the belts, the sunglasses, the bags, especially the bags, the hats, sometimes the footwear. Although I wasn't the biggest fan of the footwear in this collection, but in past collections, the shoes, the boots, I've been a really big fan. But this collection, yeah, the footwear definitely wasn't for me. Definitely wasn't. Dr. G says the black crocodile one was directly ripped from the last season. Literally, it was only brown before. Yeah, that's what I mean by that's why that kimono piece was very interesting because I think that Pharrell's when it comes to design, and this is why obviously we say Pharrell's not the most revolutionary designer, I don't think he has that much range, which is why he ends up just doing the same thing every season, but through the lens of an idea. So sometimes the idea might be camouflage. Sometimes that idea might be nautical inspiration. Sometimes it might be football. Sometimes it might be what other collection has he done? It might be Western inspired, but it's still the same look. And I don't think that's good or bad. I mean, many designers have a very distinctive aesthetic. I guess the only what would make Pharrell's aesthetic more of an issue is the fact that his aesthetic is not based on complicated pattern making. So a good example of that would be Yohji Yamamoto has a very aesthetic look, but that look is hard to achieve because you have to actually be like good at tailoring and you need to be able to manipulate patterns to even come up with a silhouette that's that unique. Same thing with Rick Owens. Rick Owens, we can see his stuff from a mile away. That's Rick. He does the same thing damn near every season. But to get to that kind of look, it needs complicated pattern making to get there. With the silhouettes that Pharrell Williams does, they are kind of basic. He'll like change the lapel, but there's nothing about the shapes that's necessarily interesting or complicated. They do look like run-of-the-mill silhouettes. Chloe Ryan says, a lot of designs that come down the runway will be repeats or iterations of previous seasons that were hits, especially basics. Yeah, sometimes, although I do think with Pharrell Williams, it does seem like he does bring, like, let's say 70% of ideas from the past collection to the new one. So it is quite a lot. Keith says, I love how out of all the major luxury brands, LV has a recognizable cut with its menswear tailoring and their varsity jackets are just unmatched. I think that was started from Virgil Abloh though, Because a lot of the cuts that I see Pharrell Williams use are very much like Virgil Abloh kind of things, right? It just looks very Virgil Abloh, like the wider silhouette trousers, the bomber jackets with very intricate details. That's very, very much Virgil. I think where Pharrell Williams shines, once again, like I said, is the accessories, because I think Pharrell Williams designs better accessories than Virgil Abloh, for sure. But clothing wise, I think Virgil Abloh's clothing was way better than Pharrell Williams. Like, way, way, way better. Dr. Jean says at the beginning I was getting sort of a HBCU slash Ivy League feel to the clothes, kind of like that One Wales Bonner collection, but I realize it's just rapper wear with occasional Japan references. Damn, that's a bit harsh. That's a bit harsh. Um, but yeah, I always wonder, and I always ask this question, like when something looks the same, but it's not necessarily unique. When you buy a lot of these collections, what is there left to buy? So say you buy like Pharrell Williams tailored pieces and all those kind of things. You buy a few varsity jackets. What would push you to buy more varsity jackets the next 10 seasons when he does them in every season? That's what really interests me. Like, how do they go about selling these things? Like, what's the strategy? Yeah, as far as accessories, I would agree, and I'm pretty sure it's selling a whole lot. Oh yeah, for sure. Valenci Baddy says, I like the music soundtrack they use. Yeah, to be honest, every single show that Pharrell does, I really, really like the soundtrack. I mean, it's Pharrell. Of course, like, who has more has better music taste than Pharrell? Like, Pharrell is one of the greatest producers of all time. Like, his taste in music is unmatched. His also range and understanding of music is unmatched. And to me, Pharrell Williams will definitely be like one of the most stylish men on the planet. That's something I've always believed. And I've always just thought this guy's so fly. But that's not the conversation we're having here. We're having a conversation around his designs and him as a designer. But I do, all in all, I do find it wholesome, this sort of coming together of their interests and this highest level of fashion bromance, designing this collection together at Louis Vuitton. Um, it's cool. There were also a lot of kickbacks to Japanese culture, you know, the origami bag. There was a story I read in their interview in Vogue that apparently recently, when they decided to make a collaborative Louis Vuitton collection, they went fishing in Japan and they actually caught a lobster when they were together. So you might see a few lobster prints on the garments, lobster embroidered in certain places. That's kind of like one of those little nuggets to their relationship that people might catch when you look at the collection. So that's kind of what the point of it was. I think it would be funny if LV brings in Lady Gaga as creative director, triggering Kanye to pull out another quote. Yeah, Alyssa, this is facts. Didn't he produce 30% of music on the radio? So I'm not sure about the radio, but I remember reading one stat where it was like, um, when you looked at like the hip hop and R&B charts, I think it was like a good percentage, maybe 40% of all the music on the R&B and hip hop charts were produced by the Neptunes. That is insane. I don't think anyone has ever had a run like that since. Keith says LV doesn't have great stock, and so often clients have to order for their size. Clients won't order unless they know how it would fit, so they rely on their experience with his releases and sizing. Yeah, that's really interesting. I think because with LV, to be honest, a lot of their runway stuff isn't sold anyway. So what people have to do is you have to go into the store or, you know, talk to your SA and tell them specifically what pieces you want. They might bring some for you to try in store, and then you can buy things that way. I only know this because Micah, who you guys would know, the guys that follow the channel, he obviously buys Louis Vuitton a few times, and he's like a Louis Vuitton client. So he always tells me what goes on, keeps me in the loop. Do you think the friendship was just a means of changing the designs and details they were using without seeming out of ideas? or it was a concept always intentional? I mean, once again, Pharrell is not um Pharrell is not Lee McQueen, right? Pharrell's ideas are not going to come from very, like, he's not J.W. Anderson. They aren't going to come from very abstract places. So I don't necessarily think that he was using the friendship as a means of just changing the design so it can continue to be unique. I don't think that's what it is. I just think genuinely he just thought, since we're making a collection together, why don't we use it as a chance to talk about themes of nostalgia and talk about our relationship and things that we've seen and designed growing up over the years. This part always makes is I always find it weird when Pharrell Williams after every show like bows down to Bernard Arnault. I don't know, I just don't like how it looks visually. Also, when Victor Wembanyama beside Bernard Arnault is crazy work. He's gonna become LV's golden boy. Um, but I just find it really strange. It's kind of like bowing down to your master. I don't like it. Optically, I don't like it. It makes me feel bad. But what I do enjoy about Pharrell Williams and I really appreciate about him is how he celebrates his team and always talks about his team because we know, if you work in fashion, you know that creative directors don't come up with all the ideas. They don't, especially at the bigger brands. Sometimes interns come with ideas that creative directors are like, that's interesting, let me develop that. Sometimes their head of menswear, their head of accessories might come with a design that gets developed. So it is kind of weird that we attribute loads of work to just one person when these are ideas that are coming from like maybe 20 people or 30 people. So I always appreciate this is something that Martin Margiela did himself, of course. It's like always referring to his team as we. It's not just I. I like that. And Pharrell Williams has kind of carried that along where at the end of his shows, he always shows appreciation to his team and makes sure that they get visibility. I like that. I very much like that. Dolce Jean says, I think the friendship being used as a driving force for the theme of this collection is a win for everyone involved, especially LVMH. Good story and direct relation to Asia. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, those are the customers that they want, right? Asia is the biggest customer base for Louis Vuitton. So if anything, they're gunning for that. They're gunning for that customer base. Pharrell is a humble man. Yeah, he definitely gives me humble vibes. He seems like a very wholesome person, for sure. Like, extremely wholesome. But yeah, guys, that's the collection. This ongoing bromance between Pharrell Williams and Nigo continues. I mean, Nigo and Pharrell over the years. And then we get to this moment right here. Yeah, the little bow down to the team at the end is kind of nice. Yeah, I like it. What I don't like is the bow down to the supreme overlord Bernard Arnault. I don't like the optics of that. But him bowing down to his team, I like that. I like that. Arnault's existence and the wealth he represents makes me uncomfy. Oh my gosh. Someone said, I think the only person who hates Pharrell on earth is Drake. Yeah, how can you hate Pharrell? Like, Pharrell is one of the most wholesome people in the world. Obviously, I can critique his clothing, but that has nothing to do with him as an individual. I think he's an amazing person. How can you hate Pharrell? Pharrell is so, like, nice. Why? Why would you hate Pharrell? That's insane. That's actually insane. Something when I think of the success of Pharrell's accessories and the speedies that he designs, it always reminds me of his grills. Because Pharrell is really famous for having some of the most interesting grills, and like he has these really colorful iterations of grills and stuff. And I'm like, I wonder if like some of the colors of his speedy bags are inspired by the colors that he likes and the colors that he has with his custom accessories, not just grills, but like chains and stuff. I'm always like, that's interesting to draw parallels between those two things. Oh, wait, so saying Pharrell did Chad Hugo dirty. I guess so. I guess so. I guess you can say that. I guess you can say that. that happy song almost made me hate him. Why? He's like, because I'm happy, and then you're like, because I hate you. Like, damn, give the man a break, man. Give Pharrell a break. I like Pharrell. I'm a fan of Pharrell. Um, but yeah, just as another reminder, once again, when I was talking earlier about the collaboration between Nigo and Virgil Abloh, this is one of the campaign videos that they had when the collection first came out. Oh yeah, people are talking about Khalees. That is true. You guys are actually cooking, to be fair. You guys are cooking. But then again, all in all, because I always think about things this way, is there anyone that hasn't done something that they could be hated for? I've definitely in my life done things where people could misinterpret things, and without added context, there are probably people in the world that hate me because they think I did something that I didn't, or I did something with certain intentions, but those actually weren't my intentions. So I think eventually, as a human, there are going to be some things that people can call into question, but overall, as a human, I don't necessarily deem Pharrell as like a ultra problematic person. When I think of Pharrell, that's not what comes to mind. I'm not one to stand anyone, but if Pharrell revived Daft Punk for a live performance at a show, I think I'd swear allegiance to him and the LVMH overlords. That's funny. But anyway, let's look at some of the details from the collection. Let's look closer. Of course, we can see the footwear. It's kind of got this sort of damier print at the bottom too, which is kind of cool. Of course, Pharrell Speedy with the pink color in reference to Sakura, which I think, you know what? This might be a hot take, but I don't know why when people design Japanese collections, or let's say people do collaborations with Japanese designers, why do they always go for like the lowest hanging fruit? It's like everything's going to be pink because cherry blossoms are like the national flower of Japan. So we're going to show that we appreciate Japanese culture by just putting pink on everything. It's like, why? The Japanese culture is so detailed and so vast and so varied and so layered. Why does everyone always come to the same conclusion of, yep, pink? Why is that where we always end up? I don't know. I just find it strange all the time. You got these Louis Vuitton bags, which you've seen. This is also kind of like a Balenciaga thing where you take something like shopping bags, the concept of it, and then you make it into an actual desirable bag. You use thick leather, you use really nice handles, put some hardware inside, add a lining. Yeah, this is something that Demna does at Balenciaga a lot. But I've seen a lot of other designers do that too. Yeah, even now we're seeing the pink tie, same thing. Cool fabric. That looks like mohair. That's a cool fabric for a tie. It's going to be hard to maintain. Good luck. The dry cleaner, when you give it to the dry cleaner, is going to be like, what? Um, but it's really cool. Yeah, this is the lobster that I was talking about. This is, of course, an ode to Pharrell Williams and Nigo. The fact that Pharrell Williams visited Nigo in Japan and they went fishing and they caught a lobster. And it was during that conversation that they decided they wanted to have a collection and collaborate on a collection at Louis Vuitton. So we're gonna see a lot of lobsters and things like that across the collection. Yeah, it is very cliche. It is very cliche, to be honest. Even like the color of the set also, like look, it's kind of like this sort of pinky. It's just why? Why is it always the lowest hanging fruit? Why? Why? The Marc Jacobs graffiti references felt out of place. Yeah, yeah. Was it like Steven Sprouse, right? Those collections. For guys that don't know, I'll show you guys quickly. So Steven Sprouse is an American artist, And one of the most famous, I mean, Marc Jacobs had a lot of famous collaborations when he was at Louis Vuitton. I mean, his time at Louis Vuitton was iconic. That's why they're rehashing everything that Marc Jacobs did, because a lot of these brands are out of ideas. But anyway, Steven Sprouse had a collaboration with Louis Vuitton, with this like sort of graffiti print all over kind of thing that went crazy when it first released. Like people went insane over this stuff. And since then, a lot of designers have kind of rehashed it and stuff. And, you know, we saw Pharrell Williams kind of have a reference to that in this collection, in this new collection. Keith also said, let me see what Keith is saying. I thought it was Steven Sprouse too, but apparently Nigo did those pieces in his brands too. I'm very sure he was. I mean, graffiti text is not like a super unique thing. Marc Jacobs doesn't have a monopoly on graffiti, neither does Steven Sprouse. But when you think of Louis Vuitton, the history, of course, especially in the color and the way it was done, it looks very much like a Steven Sprouse collab. But graffiti in general, and putting graffiti text on clothing is not that unique. Um, but when we talk about the history of Louis Vuitton and stuff like that, then yes, it's part of the history of the brand. But anyway, going further, you can see more of the techniques. And this is also a technique that was used in the collaboration between Virgil Abloh and Nigo. So it's cool to see them bring that back. Let's see. These kind of like really baggy shorts that are an ode back to the Y2K times. You even see the little teddy bear. I'm not the biggest fan of it. And the footwear, I'm just not the biggest fan at all. Here we have the Friends print. Once again, we have an overline of Pharrell. And of course, Nigo. We also saw a lot of references. We will see them eventually, but the cap that Nigo likes to wear, they had a version of that on the runway too. Also, I was trying to think when I saw these shoes, is that like a Nike collab? Is this like a Nike Cortez? Is that what that is? Interesting. I wonder if images of those came out, like on Hypebeast or something. Hypebeast sneakers. What do you think it will take for brands to achieve their own authentic image again? Brands just have to be open to take risks. Unless they take risks, it will just be everything will look the same. Because if you think about it this way, if you're trying to make more money, then your clothing has to be more and more mass appealing. And then if your clothing is more and more mass appealing, then it looks like everything else. So they just have to be open to taking more risks. But I don't think that will ever happen, because as much as we praise Marc Jacobs for everything that he did at Louis Vuitton, I do think that his time at Louis Vuitton was iconic. You also have to add the context of the fact that Louis Vuitton was not as big of a brand. So Marc Jacobs had more freedom to do things because it was kind of uncharted territory, like doing ready to wear at Louis Vuitton. So he almost had the ability to just do what he wanted. There wasn't the same, there was pressure, of course, but there wasn't the same financial pressure that there would be now, to keep growing. And because it was kind of untapped, it's easier to grow when you haven't done something, where versus where Pharrell and Louis Vuitton are now, where they've reached the heights of luxury and you're still trying to top that. Will I cover the Dries Van Noten show? Of course. Of course, of course. Consumers have to demand authenticity. Brands won't do shit unless it's obvious that's what will make them money. So the current bubble will have to burst. Yeah, exactly, like I said. Because I can't see a situation where these brands will be open to taking more risks, to be honest. Yeah, someone also saying they call that technique. Yeah, it is Sashiko. Yeah, it is. It is. Let's see, what did they... Okay, that's interesting. We've got the beading on the zipper. Some really cool details. Something I will give, the credit I'll give to Pharrell Williams is that when you look at his garments up close, they do always have really interesting details. But of course, that is to be expected. I mean, look at the atelier that he's using. You would expect those kind of things, right? Really good bags, as always. So people in the chat are saying that it's a rip-off of the Nike Cortez. It's not a collab with Nike. I need to look into that because I don't know that to be true or not. I don't know that to be factual or not. We don't want to spread misinformation. This, once again, is what I'm talking about, where Pharrell Williams really likes the soft leather because this trunk is sort of like little trunk bag. It's supposed to be rigid. It's not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be able to squeeze it like that. But across Pharrell Williams bags, he likes using soft leather. It's very interesting that he doesn't like structure because those things in bags are very hit or miss. There are many people that cannot stand the fact that Pharrell Williams makes these structureless bags, and then there are people like me that absolutely love it. Um, so yeah, it's interesting that he does that. Of course, we have someone pushing LV trunks. We always get this in every season. It's not really much there. And also, do you know something I've noticed? Something really interesting, and I'm going to show you actually after about these collections is that the people that push these trunks always wear workwear. I wonder why he does that. Like they're clearly wearing like a sort of workwear vest, workers' gloves, like workwear sort of trousers, pushing it. With even like the cap looks very like Carharty. Even the way the logo is done kind of looks like Carhartt. It's very interesting. Let me see some of the past. Let me look at some of the past collections because he does that all the time. It's just something I've noticed in passing. Let's see. Look at some past collections because I'm like, this man always does that. The workwear looks is always through the people pushing stuff. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not crazy. This is from the Western inspired collection for Winter 2024 menswear. Once again, look. So the person pushing the trunks is wearing sort of like this workwear jacket that looks exactly like a Carhartt ripoff. Very interesting that he does that. I hope he talks about it one time, like what exactly. Obviously, we know what it is. It's kind of like workers pushing something. What I get it, but I wonder if there's like a deeper meaning to it or deeper reason why he always does that. Yes, Pharrell hates structure. He's the guy who pushed Bathing Ape after all. Yeah, true. Anyone taking issue with unstructured LV bags from Pharrell should try carrying the new La City bag from Balenciaga. The latter has no backbone whatsoever. The trend overall is a return to real ready-to-wear as luxury brands are struggling in this economy. The luxury leather goods industry alone lost like 40 billion last year. Yes, but then Chloe, also about that, across the board, luxury fashion just had a really bad year because like especially last year, it was a big economic crisis. Like people had there was issues with energy, there was issues with like salaries, inflation was crazy. So I think in general, just people across the board didn't have disposable income. So I think a lot of companies struggling is less to do with, you know, these brands are going to struggle in the future, and more to do with the fact that the economic landscape across the world was really bad. I think the only people that saw financial growth outside of like specific brands, like Kering saw really bad performance, but Bottega Veneta saw growth. The likes of Prada Group, Prada and Miu Miu had a really good year. But outside of that, across the board, most of the LVMH brands suffered. Yeah, a lot of brands suffered across the board. Yeah, some more of these techniques. Some more of the same old tailoring we get from Pharrell Williams. I wonder if this piece is going to sell. I can see a lot of rappers buying this piece. And considering a lot of rappers were at the show, I'm sure a lot of rappers are looking at that like, yeah, I finna buy that. Here we have some more Friends prints. We've got Nigo with his typical hat. We've got Pharrell Williams with his hair. Then we have, yeah, so they're just putting all the different types of hats that they wear. Interesting. And then the gloves. Okay, no. I wonder if they told. I always wonder these things. I'm weird like that. So I wonder if Pharrell Williams specifically told models to crush the bags and scrunch them up in that way to emphasize that he's using soft leather. Or if, just to hold, just by holding the bag, they kind of just ended up doing that. Or is that a very deliberate thing? Like, did he tell the models to emphasize squeezing the bag so that people know that you can do that with the bags? Interesting. Okay, now we have some more cherry blossom inspired colors. Once again, another workwear look with the people pushing and workwear gloves. These gloves have the Friends print. Imagine, I always wonder, like, are people going to buy these gloves and start gardening with their Louis Vuitton gloves with the Friends print? I always wonder that. And then, of course, we have the floral LV trunk. Yeah. Someone say it looks edible. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Is someone saying it feels very Dapper Dan meets Kid Super? Interesting. Let's keep going, guys. Okay, some really cool bag detailing. Let's see. Those bags, we've seen those in so many different iterations. Let's see what he's done with the belts this season. Okay, just kind of like gold and then the same technique on the belt. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Kind of cool. The beanies, those are probably going to do really well. I can see a lot of those selling really well. Sunglasses, damier print on the bags, and the really small speedies with the Friends print. I guess these will become collectible items in a sense that if they never do this kind of print again, it's kind of like a collector's thing. Like, oh, do you remember that collection in collaboration with Nigo that Pharrell Williams did for Louis Vuitton, where they had that Friends print? But I don't know if I want Pharrell Williams' face plastered on my bags. I don't really know if I want that, to be honest. I'm trying to decide if I like it or not. But I do like, in general, I like Pharrell Williams bags in general. Some more Sakura with a damier print cardigan. It's cool. I mean, it's really cool. And I'm sure the details look really nice. I can see, like, this is the kind of thing that Shy Gilgeous Alexander would wear. I can see him buying this. He probably put in an order for that sweater, actually. I'm very sure he did. And I'm not sure if he was at the show, but he would definitely get an invite. So he might have even been at the show. That's the kind of stuff he would wear. Some more varsity jackets, some more trunks, varsity. Let's get past this once again. I think I understand why the color is that. We get it, Sakura, but I think it's overdone. I think they overdid it in this collection with the colors. Like they should have used a wider range of colors and just like plaster everything in pink. Like we get it. It's homage to Japan, but I just think they overdid it. A lot of these looks are definitely NBA tunnel walk drip. Yeah, that's what I was thinking to myself. The shoes are a nod to his skateboard P era. Wait, someone said most of the Spurs players were at the show. Probably because of Wemby, to be honest. Because Wemby is like one of the faces of Louis Vuitton menswear, which is also interesting. Do you know what I find weird about Wemby? Let's go on his Instagram and see what's on his Instagram before we go through the looks. It's weird having an ambassador for your brand be someone that wears the size of clothing that no one can wear. Like, yeah, he's literally one of the ambassadors of Louis Vuitton right now. That's why he was sat right beside Bernard Arnault. I wonder if Bernard Arnault watches basketball, and more specifically, if he watches like Wemby games. He's like, let me see if we are getting our money's worth. We have to make sure that the performances are on point. But yeah, Wemby is like 7'5" or something. It's just strange. Like, all this stuff is definitely custom made. It's just interesting that they decided to have an ambassador that literally wears the size that no one can buy. And if you are Wemby's height, like you are 7'5", Louis Vuitton are not going to make custom garments for you. You're just not going to find your size. It's interesting. I find it fascinating that they chose him of all people. Spurs are playing in France. Yeah, there's a NBA Europe game, right? I think tomorrow. So that's interesting. Alexandre Arnault is the one that keeps his dad in the loop. If I had to get, yeah, that's a good point, to be honest. That's a good point because I can't imagine Bernard Arnault like, let us go and watch the NBA. See if Victor Wembanyama. My French accent needs work. It's terrible. My accent needs a lot of work. Anyway, moving on, we have these sort of Carhartt workwear inspired esque pieces in the signature pink that I'm starting to get tired of. Let's see some different. Even the buttons are pink. Like, we get it. At this point, we understand. The technique used in making this jacket looks really interesting, actually. Like this denim. This is really cool. It might not even be denim, but that's actually really cool, to be honest. But the pink, like, we get it. Like, even the buttons at the sleeves are pink. Gosh, we see another iteration of the lobster as well. We get it. And if you, oh, you say, French people are always like, This is also a good point. Spurs have a history with France because of Tony Parker. Exceptional good point because Tony Parker is considered the greatest French basketball player of all time and he played for the San Antonio Spurs. So, yeah, that's interesting. So, in a way, the San Antonio Spurs historically has become sort of like the French supported team because they've always had a French superstar. Obviously, this generation is Victor Wembanyama. Last generation was Tony Parker. That's interesting, actually. I wasn't even thinking about that. So that's a cue. That's a very, very good point. Very valid. I think most people don't like the clothes, but would buy the accessories. Yeah, I think that's the case with most brands anyway. Most brands, people just buy accessories. That's what sells. This is what we were talking about with sort of like the Steven Sprouse inspired graffiti all over pieces on the beanie, on the jackets. Oh my god, not the guys. Do you get the point of the collection now? Do you understand where the inspiration of this collection is coming from, guys? Golly, how much pink? They gave us pink in every way possible. Jeez, even the pink trunk. Jeez, with that camouflage print that Pharrell Williams has made his own. I feel like I'm warming to that camouflage print. With the first collection, I did not like it. I think it worked better in other colors than the camo color. I think the camo color just makes that print look really odd. Yeah, shout out to Boris Diaw as well. That's true. Pink is the new black. Still hazy. Needs someone dressed up like a sakura tree. Pink Matter by Frank Ocean should have been playing. Oh my gosh, you guys are hilarious. I feel like you guys are starting to understand my sense of humor and you're all playing into it. I appreciate it, guys. Okay, let's just skip past because now we're starting to see the same things in different colors. Let's stop when we see something interesting. Okay, the bags, the same thing. That's probably going to sell, to be honest. Okay, moving on. The varsity, the workwear boots. This was one of the pieces that I liked This kind of like kimono biker jacket sort of thing going on. I also like the silhouette cropped in a body. I say this all the time. This shape of outerwear works the best for me because I have a very small torso. So when I wear jackets that are cropped in a body, it actually fits me perfect and makes my proportions look really good. And even though I have really long legs, it makes my legs look even longer, which looks nice visually. So I like this piece. This is one of my favorite pieces from the collection, actually, funny enough. This is also really cool. Um, the collar is also really cool. This is like that like Indian type collar. It's like the Nehru. I think it's called a Nehru collar. That's really cool. Some more lobsters. In case you didn't know that Pharrell Williams and Nigo caught a lobster when they went fishing, here you go. Some more lobster. To be fair though, I wouldn't mind a lobster charm from Louis Vuitton. That could be cool. Since bag charms are all the rage right now, it's like the biggest trend. They should do a few like little lobster charms. Will I be buying anything? No, because I'm not rich. I do not have money for Louis Vuitton ready to wear. But if I was, if say I was rich in an alternate universe, I would get the kimono thing. What else would I get? If they were selling lobster charms, I would get like a lobster charm and put it on whatever bag I have. Yes, it would match Micah's turtle charm. It definitely would. So they should make one. I think that would go. I think that would do really well commercially. Also, it isn't a Nike collab. Here we go. We have a different angle. It's actually just the Louis Vuitton version of a Nike Cortez. Interesting. I don't know why. Every time I look at Cortez or a Cortez shape, I always think of Kendrick Lamar. I don't know why in my head I just associate that with Kendrick Lamar. Now we've got some more. Just in case you didn't know about the lobsters, guys, we've got some more. Just in case you didn't know about the lobsters, guys, we even put it on the knitwear. Just in case you weren't aware, we shall make you aware. Just in case you didn't know that there's a Friends print with Nigo and Pharrell. We put them on more pieces for you guys. Did someone say this reminds me of Kenzo? I mean, it would remind you of Kenzo because obviously Nigo designs Kenzo, and if Nigo is designing this collection too, he's going to use his same ideas, kind of. Did someone say that collar is a reference to Nigo owning a curry restaurant? I think that's a reach. I think a lot of people use Nehru collars, to be fair. It's kind of like a very popular thing in fashion. Kendrick said he was dressed in all black and Nike Cortez, and now he is Martin down to the socks. Hey, there we go. Pharrell Williams does like experimenting with camo. I appreciate it. I'm not the fan of the camo in this collection. However, I'm always a sucker for experimentation. So any designer that I see experimenting in interesting ways, I support it. Even if, I don't necessarily like it, at the end of the day, I'm not even an LV customer. So so long as the customers like it, happy days. Got some more Pharrell Friends print. Yeah, we're going to skip these looks. I think this was a bit too more of the same. This is kind of interesting. I also like the position of the zip. That's cool. I wonder if because politically the world is going really conservative, and there are all these men that are like so, like, oh my god, like everything's so feminine, like how men painting their nails, everything's men are being feminized. I wonder if they're gonna have a fit when they see this collection and see like the really cool design, like nail designs on the men. I wonder if they're going to have a seizure. I think the nail designs that I've noticed across this collection are really cool. They're really interesting. Okay, let's go on. Oh my God. Now we just have a. This is cool. I think this is the most interesting iteration of the lobster. It's an actual lobster bag. That's cool. That's really, really cool. But yeah, they don't, and that's the issue I have with Pharrell sometimes. I think, not to say Pharrell doesn't have ideas, but it's too, it's just too low hanging fruit. Like, he's like, okay, we caught a lobster, so now we're gonna put a lobster on 50 looks. Okay, I'm inspired by Japanese culture, and I want to give an ode to Japanese culture and just Nigo himself, because Nigo used that shade of pink because it was inspired by cherry blossom, so it makes sense. But it's like that amount of looks being pink. It's like, it's almost like you have to have more ideas in a collection than just one idea put on 60 looks, on 60 different pieces. Maybe not looks, but 60 different pieces. It's just like, it's a bit much. This whole, shopping bag made desirable, made with very good materials, an idea we've seen multiple times. Okay, that's not interesting at all. Sashiko all over the gaffer. Damier print overlord. That's what we should start calling Pharrell. I like some of his Damier prints, to be honest. If I just had more money, then maybe not sense, but if I just had stupid money, I would get one of the Damier pieces to support Pharrell. Someone said a lobster died for this. Yeah, but a lobster did actually die for this, funny enough. Catch of the day, a lobster. We've got the fake Nike Cortez once again in Louis Vuitton. The only thing though, even though these are like Nike Cortez ripoffs, they're obviously probably going to be made a million times better than Nike Cortez, which is expected because they're probably going to cost $1,000. So if they aren't made of like full leather, and if the lining isn't something sensational, I will be very disappointed. This is really cool. They've got different charms. Obviously, the typical like lovers on it. Louis Vuitton, different flowers. Pharrell Speedy bag in blue. Let's see, is there going to be a lobster? Is there a lobster? Is there a lobster? A guitar. A guitar. Let's see. Like a can. Yep, a lobster. I knew it. Of course, there's a lobster. This is cool though. This is actually really cool. This is like, because Pharrell's obviously likes the hardware with Louis Vuitton, the padlocks and stuff. Pharrell should be doing better with the footwear. Yeah, I said earlier, Killian, I'm not sure when he hopped into the live. I said earlier that overall, I'm a big fan of Pharrell Williams footwear, especially from past collections. I think the Western boots that he did are really cool. I think in his debut, he had some really cool boots. He does like some workwear inspired boots and stuff. I think they're all really nice, but I think this collection specifically, I think has the weakest selection of footwear from any Pharrell Williams collection, in my opinion. This just feels like Nigo and Pharrell match, engineered by Louis Vuitton. Maybe that's dumb, but it's what I'm surmising from this. I mean, you're not. I wouldn't say that's dumb. I think that is kind of true because it is kind of typically what Pharrell Williams and Nigo do, mashed into one collection. So if you are a fan of Nigo or a fan of Pharrell, or you followed any of their work for any considerable amount of time, you're like, oh, I've already seen this whole collection already. A lobster again. A lobster again. Surely, this is what confuses me, right? Surely, there are so many more things in Japan to reference, and there's so many more things from their own personal friendship, like between Nigo and Pharrell, to reference that means that they don't have to put a lobster or the Friends print across every bag. Surely there's some like other interesting things that you can print, right? This is really cool. I wonder what this is made of because every season Pharrell does that crazy bag that's limited to like five creations, and it'll be made of like real gold and like whatever. And it, like when he did that Millionaire bag, I wonder if this is like this collection's version of that because this looks like it would be really expensive. Let's see. You even got the pink sunglasses to match. Okay. I mean, I don't mind the Japanese characters and stuff that say lovers and Louis Vuitton. I think it's kind of cool. It also becomes a collector's thing because they're probably only going to do that once, at least in Pharrell's tenure at Louis Vuitton. So that's kind of like a cool thing to own, I guess. This is kind of cool. The gradient sort of croc print thing going on. That's cool. Anything really, the lobster deserves royalties. The lobster is probably in someone's stomach, or it might be in a toilet somewhere. Oh, sorry, I have an American audience. It might be in a bathroom. It might be in a bathroom somewhere. A bathroom? Sometimes I forget. Yeah, my audience is actually not British. This is too much going on. I don't know. Lovers on the side here. It says Louis Vuitton on the bottom. It says Louis Vuitton around here. It has the LV logo. It has Pharrell Nigo's face. That's just too much going on. That's just a bit much. Oh my gosh, the bags are starting to look like lobster cages and traps. Goodness gracious. Q says, in Japan we say toilets, and assuming they caught the lobster in Japan, you would be correct. Thank you for vindicating me. Thank you very much for vindicating me. The bags are really cool though. Some more. Okay, now we get a back version of these vests. Equip with the Friends logo. So that's what I mean. I mean, looking at the collection, all in all, I think it's solid in the sense that there's a lot of things that I think people will wear and will be desirable for people to wear. I think my major issue with Pharrell is he needs to develop his ideas a bit further. His ideas are a bit too basic. It's like we caught a lobster, so we're going to put lobster printed on every single bag. You know, Japan has cherry blossom, so we're going to make every look pink. You just need to have better ideas than that. But in terms of like desirable silhouettes, are people going to buy this? Yes. Do I think Pharrell designed sensational bags in collaboration with whoever is the head of accessories at Louis Vuitton? Yes. I think Pharrell Williams has done wonders for men wearing bags, especially in the luxury space. I think a lot of credit can be given to him. So, yeah, I think the stuff he makes is cool, but I just think his ideas sometimes are really, really basic, extremely basic. And I think he just needs to develop his ideas a bit more. I think more can be done. I can see that too. The human made influence is strong. The human made influence is why Micah and I, when we review a lot of Pharrell Williams Louis Vuitton shows, we say that it looks like this, like Nigo consulted on this Louis Vuitton collection. I felt that way with every single Pharrell Williams Louis Vuitton collection, which is only natural because that is Pharrell Williams worked with Nigo for years, so they kind of would think the same in a way because they work closely with each other for so long on so many different brands. So it's only natural that that would happen. But guys, what's your verdict on the show? What do you guys think? What do you guys think all in all? What's your final verdict? Human Made has the duck icon and now LV has the lobster. Or one Korean audience here. There we go. We have a we have a great audience from all around the world. It's more because most of the people that comment are Americans. So I don't know a lot of the people from other places that watch my streams because a lot of times people don't comment. Maybe it could be the time that I stream. Because now when I stream in the morning, like now, it's I see a lot of people based in Japan tuning into these streams. I think it's to do with the time. When I normally stream that, I think the past few streams I've done in the morning, so I've seen more people from Asia tuning in. But then if I stream in my evening, I see a lot of Americans. So I think it's to do with the timing of when I stream also. Exactly, because it's like, yeah, it's 8:47 in Japan, exactly. So that's the main reason why. I think it's a timing thing. Well, someone said I wouldn't know about Goyard without Pharrell. I think that's a lot of us. There are so many brands that I wouldn't know about. I mean, I when I first got into fashion, yes, I learned about Yoji through friends, but as I was learning about fashion, I then would listen to certain rappers like ASAP Rocky all the way back then, mention certain brands, and I'm like, wait, I read about that brand yesterday, and then I start learning about, oh, so this guy knows about this, and then you're like, oh, Kanye West was actually wearing Under Millionaire all this time. I just had no idea that that's what he was wearing. To me, this is his best collection, but still too tacky and commercial, not something fashion enthusiasts like us tend to go for. That's interesting. I would say, what's my favorite Pharrell Williams Louis Vuitton collection? I like the Western collection a lot, actually. I think that's probably my favorite one. Um, the debut collection wasn't for me. Too much of that camouflage print. The nautical collection wasn't for me at all. That Spring Summer 25 collection wasn't for me at all. Yeah, I think it's probably the Western collection. That's interesting though. Kanye University has put us onto so many brands. I know, right? It's a shame that he's self-destructed. Kanye West had men. Kanye West had men wearing Chelsea boots. Do you know how insane that is? Men that had only ever worn sneakers in their life. Kanye West had these men buying Bottega Veneta Chelsea boots with Balmain denim. That's insane. Okay, Bob. Bob is a fellow Brit. Great to see you here. 2 p.m. in South Africa. Wait, what? Oh, you guys are ahead. Okay, that makes sense because it's almost 12 p.m. in the UK right now. But the only reason why I've been streaming early in the morning, for guys that don't know, is because I have things to do at night because it's fashion week, so I have work to do. So I'm like, well, I can either stream in the morning or no streams happen. So I'm like, I might as well stream in the morning. I actually initially thought when I did the first stream that no one would tune in because I only ever stream at night. So I didn't even know that I had an audience of people that would like tune in at this time. But turns out I was wrong. Sometimes you don't always need to look at the stats because statistically, when I look at my YouTube analytics, it says that most of my viewers are online between the times like UK between UK 3 p.m. to UK 11 p.m. and right now it's 12 p.m. So technically, none of my viewers should be online, according to my analytics. I talk about the Chelsea boots because he really did that. No, he did. He actually did. Like, let me see if I can Google that. Kanye West Bottega Veneta boots. Kanye West Bottega Veneta boots. Yeah, this is Kanye had fashion in a chokehold in this season. Kanye had the whole fashion industry in a chokehold. Like Kanye was going absolutely crazy this season. Like damn, he had people wearing Bottega Chelsea boots all over the wazoo. Like this was this is the famous picture. This picture right here was on every menswear slash streetwear style mood board at the time. I'm starting to feel, looking at these pictures, I feel old. It's like, damn, these things actually happened a lot longer ago than I thought. I'm actually an old man. That's crazy. This is top three favorite Kanye era. Look at this Pete coat. Tell me he's broke. You guys are actually hilarious. That's funny. You know something? While I'm on live, since we finished talking about the Louis Vuitton collection, and I've given my thoughts, we need to talk about LVMH quickly. Let me see if I can find an article on what I want to talk about, because people have been asking me to cover this, so I might as well cover it now. Essentially, LVMH, as you guys know, unlimited access. Let's have a different article. So LVMH, as you guys know, really was the main sponsor of the last Olympics. The last Olympics was in Paris, which was really interesting. And so they had all their luxury brands front and center. We saw the likes of Berluti design the uniforms for the French Olympic team. So LVMH basically had their hands in everything and their hands involved in everything. Now, we always talk about how luxury has lost its luster, how a lot of these companies cut corners, they're using cheaper materials and whatever. And LVMH, that designed the medals, of course, has had big controversy because their medal designers have been complaining about the fact that a lot of the medals are rusting, and LVMH has actually had to redesign and replace a lot of people's medals, which is actually, it's absolutely insane. Like so insane. Because medals are supposed to be like gold. Like there was a point in time when medals were full gold. Of course, that's really expensive. I understand why they don't do that anymore. But there was still a time recently where the gold it was kind of like gold plated. Part of the medals were gold. And then with this latest Olympics, they're trying to cut corners. So they made it like gold toned. There was actually no real gold on it, which is funny. Like it's called a gold medal. And so, yeah, a lot of them were rusting. Like people are saying it even rusted during the Olympics. Like we started to see, even during the Olympics, there were like some serious issues, right? And so let's read this article. Let's see what they say. The high-end luxury goods conglomerates that designed the Paris Olympics medals have denied any responsibility for the poor quality after more than 100 furious athletes returned their rusty gifts. LVMH, which was founded in 1987 by the merger of Moet Hennessy and Louis Vuitton, controls around 60 subsidiaries, including the likes of Tiffany, Tag Heuer, Christian Dior, Givenchy, and Bulgari. But while luxury is the order of the day for the company, they have been left in the firing line in recent weeks amid huge controversy over the quality of Olympic medals. Why do these luxury brands and conglomerates always do that? They're like, it's our subcontractors. It's our subcontractors. Do they ever take responsibility for anything? It's like the company that we subcontracted to make the medals is at fault, not us. As if they aren't the like, I work in the industry, so I call bullshit immediately, because when you work with subcontractors, you give them a brief. You tell them specifically what they want. You tell them, we want our things to cost this amount to make, so whatever you do, make sure that it costs this amount to make, because we don't want it to be too expensive. So if you need to cut corners here or there, then do that. That's sometimes what the brief looks like. If you want something well made, you tell them, we only want the best gold. We want, the best, because pure gold is not actually good for a medal, because you want it to last long. Gold can be a bit brittle. If something is 100% gold, you want kind of like it to be a mixture of gold and other materials. But yeah, they were like, nah, we're just going to put a minute amount of gold in it and everything else is going to be gold toned. So it's really weird when they always throw away the responsibility and they're like, that's not us. That's not us. That's the subcontractors. That's their fault, not us. We have nothing to do with that. Exactly. Pretty sure if they asked for gold-plated medals and contractors gave them cheap metal for the price, I'm sure they'd be sued into oblivion. Facts. Facts. But let's see. Um, While Chaumet, part of LVMH, was responsible for the design of the medals, it insists neither they nor LVMH were involved beyond that. Interesting. It is understood that the responsibility for the faulty production lies with La Monnaie de Paris and the International Olympic Committee. Look at the state of these medals. Oh my gosh. This is Niger Houston. For guys who don't know who Niger Houston is, he's a skateboarder, a really famous skater. Look at these medals. So this is his bronze medal that has degraded. It's completely degraded. Like, what? How can a bronze medal degrade like that? I have my own medals because I used to be an athlete, as some of you might know. I have medals from when I was like 10 years old and I'm now 27 and they look exactly the same. And I never went to the Olympics. Like, the Olympics is where you would expect medals to be better made than my under 18 national competition awards and those kind of things. You would think the budget for Olympic medals would be higher. Why are my medals that I've had for 20 years, why have they seen no degrading and then Olympic medals have ended up like this in less than like a year? How is that even possible? How is that even possible? Oh my gosh. That's crazy. That's actually so insane. Okay, let's continue reading. More than 100 furious medalists from the 2024 Games have now returned their medals just 5 months on due to significant damage and rust. Concerns over poor quality of medals handed out by Paris organisers emerged during last year's event. Yeah, that kind of odes back to what someone said in the chat, where even during the even during the Olympics, people are having these issues. You think they're sweating acid the way these medals deteriorated. Oh my gosh, not the medals being from Timu. Oh my gosh, they look like they were excavated from an archaeological site. You know what? That's so true. That is actually so true. Maybe the price of gold went up so much the contract price was too low, so they cheated. Maybe, but I feel like the Olympics is a big enough event to where they could update the contracts and stuff like that if that was the case. But reading on, concerns over the poor quality of medals handed out by Paris organizers emerged during last year's event, with American skateboarder Niger Houston going viral after he revealed the shocking state of the bronze he won in the French capital. Several other athletes then shared images of the rapid deterioration of their medals, including Team USA stars Nick Itkin and Ilona Maher. Two French Olympians last month became the latest to publicly complain about the state of their cherished gongs. I love that use of words. Clement Secchi and Johan Ndoye both took to social media to reveal the sorry state of their own bronze medals, which they won together in the 4x100 meter medley relay. And a report from French daily La Lettre. I'm always really bad at pronouncing French words. It could be La Lettre or something weird like that, but let's just go with La Lettre, now claims the number of athletes to have given back their medals to Paris organizers has surpassed the 100 mark. That is insane. More than 100 athletes have returned their medals to the Olympic Committee. Oh my gosh, that's insane. That's insane. Not people saying it's patina aged. Wabi sabi look. You can source some better materials for the Olympics, biggest commercial in the world. Yeah, exactly. Siobhan says, wow, those are terrible. What a low show those Olympics were. I feel bad for people who competed. Yeah, it was bad on all fronts, to be fair. But how can, even if it was made badly, I just don't understand how it can degrade in less than a year. How could it degrade that? It's not even been a year since the Olympics and people are returning medals. I have medals from when I was 14, 15, 12. They look exactly the same. Exactly the same. Like, who made these? How can you not even make a medal that doesn't degrade? Because I'm sure the budget for the medals that I have was so tiny. So why is it that my medals aren't degrading and their medals are degrading and they have like millions and millions in budgets? I don't understand that. I don't get that. Let's see. The publication also reports the management of the company who produced the medals has been sacked due to the issue. It has been claimed problems arose because of a ban on the use of a component in the medals and a lack of testing time. So, if they are changing the components of the medals, why would they not test it longer? Why do they always run into issues like this, like a lack of testing time? Why this is $1 billion event. Why would you not have enough time to test the materials? I don't get that. Is that supposed to be like their massive excuse? Like, you know, we didn't have enough time to test the materials. So take longer then. Start earlier. Like, what the hell? Houston shared an image of the medal he won just 10 days after his event at last year's Games. He said, all right, so these Olympic medals look great when they are brand new, but after letting it sit on my skin with some sweat for a little bit, and then letting my friends wear it over the weekend, they are apparently not as high quality as you would think, he said. So these medals are made so badly that sweating degrades the medals. What kind of medal? First of all, athletes are wearing these medals. Athletes sweat because they exercise a lot and they perform at the highest levels of our physical capacity. You would think the first thing they would think about is let's make sure this material does not rub off when people sweat. You would think the first consideration would be let's use materials that don't rub when someone sweats when they wear it, because we can imagine that athletes probably sweat a lot because they're always exercising. Like, what? That's insane. Let's continue his quote anyway. I mean, look at that thing. It's looking rough, even the front. It's starting to chip off a little. So yeah, I don't know. Olympic medals, you maybe got to step up the quality a little bit. British diver Yasmin Harper also revealed that her medal was showing signs of deterioration within a week of winning bronze with partner Scarlett Jensen in the women's 3-meter synchronized springboard diving. There's been some small bits of tarnishing, said Harper, who won Britain's first medal of the Games. I think it's water or anything that gets under metal. It's making it go a little bit discolored, but I'm not sure. The medals were designed by French luxury jeweler Chaumet and are set with a piece of iron taken from the Eiffel Tower during the renovation in the 20th century. First of all, why are they using iron from the Eiffel Tower that's literally been there for how long? Why are they doing that? They could have used, if it's about sustainability, they could have reused some of that iron to make different things, but not an Olympic medal that's going to degrade. Let's see what else they say about the materials. The Paris 2024 medals contain a silver of the Eiffel Tower as a nod to the host city, but the exact makeup of medals vary between Olympics. Gold medals are mostly made of silver with gold coating, Bronze medals are usually made of a mix of copper, zinc, and tin. Yeah, like I said earlier, the gold medals these days are normally like plated. They're like gold plated. Um, so yeah, let's see. Bronze naturally oxidizes when exposed to air and moisture. How quickly bronze degrades depends on the proportion of metals in the alloy, although cheaper metals often quicken the process. The International Olympic Committee told Mail Sport the organizing committee of the Olympic Games Paris 2024 is working closely with the Monnaie de Paris, the institution tasked with the production and quality control of the medals, in order to appraise any issues with medals to understand the circumstances and cause of any damage. Damaged medals will systematically be replaced by the Monnaie de Paris and engraved in an identical way to the originals. The process to provide any replacement should start in the coming weeks in a process managed by Paris 2024 and Monnaie de Paris, together with the National Olympic Committees of the athletes concerned. Paris 2024 is in contact with the relevant national Olympic committees. So yeah, very interesting story. I mean, if you needed any more proof that these companies are cutting corners, there you go. There you go. But it's just like, why do they always cut corners like that? Because now that they've cut corners, and this is the funny thing about cutting corners, they were probably trying to save money. Now they're going to spend twice as much money having to replace everyone's medals. So if you just did it the right way the first time, you would save all the money having to now actually make good quality medals the second time and spend double the money, if not more. It's so stupid. The next Olympics, they're going to use gold leaf for their medals. Oh my gosh, it just doesn't make any sense. And they're scapegoating, obviously, the company that they subcontracted to make the stuff. But anyone that works in these kind of industries knows that at the end of the day, you have the brief. You are the people that brief the company on exactly how things should look and the materials that should be used. So you can't then turn around and be like, it's the subcontractors, it's not our fault. You can't do that. They always throw their subcontractors under the bus. I hate that stuff. Who works out wearing a medal? That no one works out wearing a medal, but athletes normally like, for example, I only know this because like I know like even my uncle was an Olympic athlete. He would like exercise, have training, still be sweating. People and everyone's like, "Oh my God, I want to see your medal. Oh my God, I want to see your medal." Because my uncle won. He never won an Olympic medal. He was an Olympic athlete, but he won a Commonwealth medal. I think he won gold at the Commonwealth Games once, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, we want to see your medal. We want to see your medal." So he would sweat on it. Everyone else's sweaty hands would go on his medal. Like everyone's sweaty, everyone's sweat just going on his medal. So there's a lot of sweat that goes on medals. And obviously, when athletes first win their medals, they're going to sweat on the medals because they just like won. So that's why a lot of the athletes, even in the article, are complaining about the fact that they literally just had their medals in their hands while they were sweating, and it was degrading. Dami said, "Why did you just drop law like that? I didn't even know you had an uncle in the Olympics." Yes, I did. There's a lot of there's a lot of law in my lifetime. It's really weird. I'm not sure I want to expose his identity. He lives a very private life, but yeah, I do have an uncle that competed in the Olympics, and he has won multiple gold medals. But I won't tell you who he is. Just look for any Nigerian Olympian, whatever. Let's see. French government has hit the skids recently on their budget. Maybe that could be one of the reasons why they cut all the corners in the world concerning this issue, right? Maybe that could be a big reason why. What was his event? Okay, I can tell you what his event was. So he was a triple jumper. He used to compete when he was a junior athlete. He used to be a long and triple jumper, but as a like pro, he was only a triple jumper. So I've given you enough lore. Dichi said, I found him already. Don't forget, I was a researcher in my heyday. That's funny. He wouldn't be that hard to find. I mean, if you look at the most successful Nigerian triple jumper of all time, you'll probably find him very quickly. I'm surprised the medals didn't crack when the athletes bit them. Oh my god. Yeah, that's probably why I was good at sports anyway. Normally these things are like genetic partially. So I do have very athletic genes. Like there are a lot of athletes in my family. So yeah. That's some lore for you. The stream guys. The stream crew. That's some lore for you guys. Add it to the book of lore. But anyway, guys, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully I should be returning to streams tomorrow, but we shall see. And I'll speak to you guys a lot later. But let me know in the comments what you thought about the Pharrell show, what you think about, LVMH and the medals. Of course, if you have a Spotify subscription, you can watch my streams back on Spotify. If you weren't aware, there's a link in the description. If you want to chat with me further, join the Discord. The link is also there. And if you want to support the channel, you can, of course, do that via joining the Patreon. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. And thank you very much for tuning in.